All right, what's up, everyone? It's Zach, and today I'm here with a very special guest. I am joined by Amber Hogarth. Amber, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm good. How are you, Zach?
Hey, I'm good and glad to hear you're doing well, and thanks for taking some time to talk today.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. So Amber is currently a preschool teacher, and with that, her, I guess, goal and passion, I would say, is to help educate the future leaders of the world. And she's really big on wanting to maintain a healthy and successful life, and is extremely passionate about mental health and self-care. So a whole bunch of good things. That's just kind of like the surface level of Amber and what she's into. But Amber, do you mind kind of talking a little bit about your background, who you are, what you're doing these days?
I grew up in a very religious centered household. Both my parents were Christians, and so I was raised in the church and everything. But from a very young age, I had that teacher passion. I always, like, anytime cousins were over or I had friends over, I definitely wanted to be the boss. I wanted to sit everyone down and like give everyone a piece of paper and like write an essay at like 4 years old. Like I had it in me. And from that point forward, my parents tell me all the time, they were like, you were just the teacher. There was nothing, like, you had no, like, there was never a doubt in their minds that I would be anything other than an educator. And so as I got older, I still had that teacher mentality where I've always known what I wanted to do. I've always had my mind set on a certain thing. If there's like a goal that I want to achieve, I do everything I can to achieve it. If it means sitting down and writing down the periodic table 10 times, then I did it for the grade that I wanted. And I'm still that way. Definitely am an innovator and I'm ambitious about getting things done and being successful. And I think when it comes to being a teacher and especially someone with mental health issues, there's a lot of, there's a lot that doesn't coincide with having to get up every day and put a smile on your face and emotionally pour into other people, because someone who does deal with mental health issues, it can be very draining to have
hmm
to pour yourself into tiny humans when you wake up on the wrong side of the bed and decide that you don't even
Right.
want to pour into yourself. So being a teacher definitely teaches you something a lot different about yourself, and I think
hmm
it's definitely not for everyone. It's
Right.
definitely not for everyone, but
Yeah,
I love it.
that's awesome. So, Amber, you kind of mentioned how teaching has always been something that you're passionate about, and you kind of always knew that was the thing for you. Did you always have the idea that it would be preschool, or was it just teaching in general, or does that specific age really resonate with you?
No. So actually, growing up, I always, like, in elementary school, this is actually kind of funny, and I'm glad that you asked this. In elementary school, I wanted to be an elementary school teacher. I wanted to teach like kindergarten, and I wanted to stick to kindergarten. And then I think when I got to the fourth grade, I wanted to teach fourth graders. And then
Okay.
in middle school, when I got into middle school, I wanted to teach eighth grade health. Like I was like dead set, eighth grade health. This is what I want to do. This is what I'm passionate about. Got to high school, freshman year, I wanted to be a freshman English teacher. Sophomore year, I wanted to be a biology teacher. Junior year, I wanted to be a health teacher again. Like I wanted to teach like health and wellness. And
Okay.
then senior year, I wanted to be a French teacher. So I have not
Okay.
dead set on anything.
Yeah.
And to be quite frank and honest, I don't exactly know how I became a preschool teacher, but it's gotten me this far and I'm pretty
Yeah.
successful at it. So
That's
I guess
good.
I'll just keep trucking through it.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny that you kind of shared that because it's interesting that you always knew teaching, but you never really knew like what specifically you wanted to teach. You just had that like draw towards teaching. So that's
Yeah.
pretty interesting because I feel like a lot of people they're like, "Oh, I need to teach." XYZ, or like, oh, you could never catch me teaching high school kids. Like that'd be terrible. So it's really
Right.
interesting to kind of hear that journey for you. But yeah, I mean, it sounds like maybe you found potentially like your calling or your niche, if you will, with like preschool, but you're young, so there's plenty of time to
Right, right.
figure out, a different subject or age group at any point.
Yeah, and I can tell you what I'm not going to be teaching. I'm not going to be teaching
Yeah.
high school algebra. Like
Okay. Okay.
you will not see me teaching high school algebra in the slightest. Maybe
Yeah.
geometry, but just math in general. That is like the one subject I will not teach is math.
Math is tough.
Math is
Math is
tough.
tricky. I don't blame you. Okay.
Teaching
So
math to preschoolers is still tough.
I can imagine. Yeah. So like going off that, with preschoolers, you know, how does I guess how do you prepare as a teacher, right? Because like I'm sure there's probably different kind of backgrounds that you're teaching, like students of different backgrounds academically, and it's kind of a younger age where you're still maybe getting the concepts of education or anything. Like, has that ever been challenging in itself just because of like the age of the kids you teach?
Oh my goodness. So in preschool, every day is a different day. Every
Yeah.
day is a new day. Walking like I it's not like working in Target, shameless promo. Zach works at Target.
Yep.
um it is not like working in customer service. It's not like working in, an office where you like kind of know what your day is going to look like. You
Hmm.
walk into preschool and your day is different every single day because you're working with little humans who
Yeah.
do not have the developmentally capabilities of emotionally expressing themselves. And so
Right.
they their mornings could throw them off. I mean, I have kids that come from very diverse backgrounds, families.
Hmm.
Um, I have student like not to get into too much detail, but I've dealt with students in foster care. I've dealt with
Mm.
students, with one parent, with both parents, with
Yep.
10 siblings. You never know. And so the best way to prepare as a teacher is to wake up every morning with the intention of making each day a little bit better than the last. And what that entails, that does not entail the kids themselves. That entails you as a teacher waking up and deciding, okay, I made this mistake yesterday. This is something that I learned yesterday and something that I'm going to try to do better if in a if a situation arises today. Now, the
Hmm.
one thing that is extremely challenging is coming face to face with situations that you've never dealt with before. And you're going to get a lot of that in education. You're going to get a lot of situations where kids are going to put themselves in a situation where you don't know what to do. You have never experienced before, you have no background or expectation of what could happen. I mean, there's a lot of oh my god moments. There are a lot of
Hmm.
moments where you're like sitting there as a teacher and you're like and you're looking around to see if you're the only one that has to deal with it. And
Yeah.
sometimes you will be. Sometimes you will be the only one that has to figure out and navigate what to do. They're like working in customer service, Zach, you can probably attest to this, but you get, basically a handbook and trained on like what to do in certain
Right.
situations.
Right.
You don't get that in preschool. You don't get that in childcare. I mean, they stick you in a class, like you get trained
Hmm.
and I was very fortunate that I got trained while working in childcare. So I worked at a childcare center and I was an infant assistant teacher and I got trained on like the basically what you need to know to be a preschool teacher. And then that's when I became
Okay.
a preschool teacher. Um, but I was never handed a handbook or a pamphlet
Hmm.
on what to do if a child falls off a bike, what to do if a
Right.
child throws up, what to do if a child, screams at you. Like you just never know because the dynamic and the diversity is so different.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great point. So, Amber, for those, for those situations that you have come up where you don't know how to handle it, or it's something that like you've never experienced before, I'm sure that that can be tough. And sometimes, maybe you don't make the best or the quote unquote right decision or whatever. Like, how do you kind of like bounce back from that? And how do you kind of stay motivated and not get down on yourself if you're like, oh my gosh, I just made like XYZ mistake. Like if that happens like a few times in a week, like does that ever wear on your kind of like, oh my gosh, why am I like how am I doing this? I shouldn't be qualified for this. Do you ever have those kind of moments?
Yes, every
Okay.
teacher has those moments, and it all
Yeah.
comes back, it really all comes back to the understanding that you as a teacher need to be able to fill your cup. You need to be able to be in a spot emotionally and mentally where you can handle those situations, where you can
Mm-hmm.
forgive yourself and bounce back, because teachers are go like we make mistakes.
Yep.
We make mistakes, and they're bad mistakes. I mean, sometimes it sounds really bad, but it's the honest truth. Some teachers end up losing their career over some of the mistakes that they make.
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to me as a teacher, I try to invest in myself emotionally and invest in my mental health and make sure that, like, if something's not right with me physically, mentally, and emotionally, I'm getting it taken care of. You know, like physically, if I'm not feeling okay, I need to drink water. I need to figure out
Mm-hmm.
within myself what's going on and address it and fix it, because they're like, I could be running on the playground and I can't be having a stomach ache running on the playground with a bunch of
Right.
little kids.
Right.
So, yes, most definitely, you definitely need to be able to um, realize that you're human and realize
Mm-hmm.
that we make mistakes too. I mean, we're like tiny humans navigating life. We're just bigger. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we're we're tiny humans in ourselves. So
Yeah.
yes, definitely need to real come to the realization and forgive yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And I love how you said invest in yourself and take care of yourself in all the dimensions, right? Like physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, if
Yes.
that's where you fall and everything. And you
Yeah.
know, how how are you able to do that, Amber? Like, are there any specific things, if you don't mind me asking, that like you do that really help you invest in yourself? Or I feel like kind of that idea of taking care of ourselves can be tough for people to, do or even know where to start. So do you have any like input or advice on any of that?
I would say if you are going into the education field or any field that has to do with dealing with human beings, no matter what age, no matter what developmental level, just dealing with society as a
Mhm.
whole, I would say pinpoint exactly what are the toughest things that you need to work on in yourself and address those first. Because if you come to the realization that, I mean, I'm just going to point blank say it, if you think that you're fucked up, then you're not exactly going to know where to start. So
Mhm.
being able to have that internal conversation with yourself and be like, okay, I'm depressed, I have anxiety. What can I do to work on this and to make sure that I'm healthy enough to handle my job?
Mhm.
Therapy, medication, journaling, spending time every day taking care of your skin, taking care of your hair, making sure you eat, um, spending time recharging and reinvesting in yourself. And I think when it comes to being a teacher, you wake up every day and the first thing on your mind is, oh my gosh, I have to raise these tiny humans. I have to be in survival mode. And
Yep.
it's like sometimes it sucks. Like sometimes I wake
Yeah.
up and I'm like, I don't want to exist as Miss Amber today. I really don't.
Yeah.
But it's worth it, and it's worth coming home and having that time to recharge and resettle. And when they say Fridays are a teacher's best friend, they're not lying.
Yeah.
Fridays are definitely my favorite day of the week. And from a teacher, that sounds terrible because it's like, oh my gosh, like, how could you say that? But no, when you put into perspective the mental and emotional drainage that happens when you are a teacher,
Mhm.
especially when you do have anxiety and you do have depression,
Yeah.
you know, it weighs on you, and
Mhm.
sometimes you just need to read a book and invest in yourself and take time to do something that fills your cup, because tiny humans are not going to fill your cup, and if they do, it's very small. um
Yeah.
because the next moment it's going to be, now get me some goldfish, and you're going to have to get up and
Yeah.
you're going to have to get that goldfish. So definitely taking time to invest in yourself is very, very important.
Definitely, I totally agree, and I love how you kind of mentioned that, you know, when we invest in ourselves, fill up our cups, you know, do anything of self-care, it doesn't have to be a grand, you know, gesture or thing. Like even you said, like take care of your skin or like, you know, just whatever. It can be a small thing. Like you could, you know, make yourself a dinner that like you normally don't eat all the time or, you know, read a
This is
book, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, this is actually funny because probably the most grand thing a teacher is doing during the week is going out for Taco Tuesday. That's like probably the
Okay.
most grand thing.
Yeah.
Because we're so busy.
Yeah.
We're grading papers, we're doing analysis checks,
Mhm.
um we're constant, like sometimes I'm up until 11:30 on Fridays doing like student checks and stuff, and doing, student logs and stuff from the week. So
Mhm.
you almost never get a break, but you have to prioritize yourself.
Yeah. No, that's really good to know, and, like, obviously, like, I'm not a teacher and, you know, to the people listening, maybe you are a teacher, maybe you aren't, but for for those of us who aren't teachers or have teaching experience or know someone that's a teacher, um, kind of like you mentioned, Amber, like, how much time outside of the classroom are you spending, like, doing teaching related work? Like, whether it's maybe when all the kids go, you have to stay late or come in early or even, like, bringing stuff home, like, how much work on top of the classroom is there usually?
So I usually spend, depending on when my last student leaves, I usually spend 15 to 30 minutes cleaning.
Okay.
And it sucks, but it needs to be done. It's something that needs to be done, especially like at the end of the day. The last
Mhm.
thing you want to do after you've chased
Yeah,
a bunch of little humans and broke up 10 little fights, the last thing you want to be doing is mopping the floors.
right.
And seriously, like, it sucks because they just leave
Mhm.
messes everywhere for you to clean. You have to clean them after
Yeah.
they've already drained you enough. Now you have to clean
Mhm.
up after them. Um but yeah, so about 15 to 30 minutes every day during the week that I'm there. And then on the weekends, it's usually like all together, it's about 3 hours of lesson planning broken up into Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday.
Okay.
And then
Wow.
when it comes to student logs, those are easy because I only have to do my roster, not the whole school.
Right.
But when it comes to student logs, it usually just takes like 15 minutes, and I can do it through my phone, so it's pretty
Okay.
easy.
Nice. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I think, like, it's one of those things where maybe from the outside looking in, people could say like, "Oh, teaching, like, you know, pretty set schedule. You get holidays and breaks. You have summer vacation. You know, all that stuff." And sure, you know, there probably are, you know, some definite perks and stuff, but also I think people forget or just don't realize how much extra work goes into it. Whether it is kind of like you said, staying after, or you know, outside of being at the physical school, you know, just like doing lesson planning, grading, the student checks and stuff like that. And even I feel like just from having some friends that are teachers, it sounds like it can get a little expensive if like you have to supply like your classroom with, you know, uh, resources and stuff.
Yeah, so one thing I will say is when it comes to preschool,
Hmm.
especially if you work in an educational daycare, you don't get summers off. Like, you have to,
Oh, okay.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, so you're there during the summer 5 days a week. doing the
Okay.
same thing, just a little bit different because they are on summer break, and we do want to be
Yeah.
able to give those kids a little brain break. Teacher term,
Mhm.
brain break. Um, but oh my gosh, sorry, what was your question?
Oh man, that was such a good point. My question just escaped me. Oh, I guess it wasn't really like a
Oh
question, just kind of
no.
like the statement of like that there's a lot more that goes into teaching that some people might realize, and like just even recently talking to some friends that are teachers and just saying like they're like, "Oh, I'm trying to do like fundraisers or like whatever to get supplies for the students or, stuff like
Oh,
that." So it sounds like there's just like a lot that goes into teaching that maybe not everyone sees.
yeah. So when it comes to being a preschool teacher, your
Mhm.
class is generally always supplied with stuff.
Okay.
Um, but like you have your like for me, I have my own roster board that I was supplied with, and then I have like a pencil that comes with my roster board, and then I have another board that has stuff on it. But like when it comes to my lessons and my
Mhm.
what I need to do as a teacher to make sure that my students are educationally successful for kindergarten, I have
Yep.
to supply, I have to come up with my own lesson plans. I have to come up with, like, I have to get my own binder. I have to get my own supplies myself. But when it comes to
Okay.
crayons and stuff, my students have those.
Okay. That's
Um,
good.
and then if there is a certain something that like an activity that needs something, I have to supply that myself. There are
Okay.
things in the classroom that
Mhm.
you can use as your lesson, but if it's not
Okay.
there, then you actually have to supply it yourself.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean, even just like having this conversation, I feel like I'm learning a lot about teaching and just kind of what goes into it. Which is it's interesting because like we all, well, not all of us, but a lot of us, grew up going to school for a lot of our lives. So it's kind
Mm-hmm.
of like we're always surrounded by education and like teachers and in the classroom, but like sometimes we just get to like adulthood and we're like, I have no idea what a teacher actually does other than like
Right.
coming in and talking. So yeah, so that's really interesting. I have to ask, like, with everything that's been going on in the world in the last couple of years with the pandemic and everything, I'm assuming that that's had a pretty large impact on teaching and how that's been for you.
Yeah. So, during the pandemic is when, so I started doing the process of becoming a preschool teacher back in February.
Okay.
And COVID was like, we were still in the like we were still in the masking part of the pandemic. And so
Mhm.
excuse me. But a part of the, like during the masking part of the pandemic, it was really stressful. We had to stay later to clean, like do extra cleaning. We had to
Yep.
wear masks at work. We had to make, like, we had to take extra protocols to make sure our students were safe. We had to close down classrooms if anyone even got the flu. And so
Mm.
it was tough, but it wasn't impossible.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. And now I'm assuming, as things are kind of, reopening and, vaccinations and everything, like I'm assuming you're kind of more at like a quote unquote like normal place right now with schooling.
Yeah. So, actually, any teacher, I think it's in the state of Ohio, but any teacher that is fully vaccinated does not have to wear a mask in their classroom, which is
Okay.
great. Um,
Mm-hmm.
some education, like some educational daycares, will make you wear a mask. Mine does not, thankfully. It was really hard to chase little kids and breathe in that mask, but thankfully now that I am fully vaccinated, I'm not, like, I don't have to wear a mask, which is nice.
Okay. Gotcha. Awesome. And so, kind of something that we've touched on a little bit is, just your passion for mental health and for self-care. Um, where does that come from? Like, is that something you've always been passionate about, or is that kind of something that recently kind of sparked passion for you?
I started investing heavily into educating myself on my mental health in my junior year of high school. I
Okay.
went through this kind of phase where I was like, I want to develop something within myself that um, really embodies mental health and really embodies wellness as a whole. And so I started getting obsessed with essential oils. And
Okay.
I'm no expert on essential oils. I don't know the science behind them. I don't know like the medical don't please do not come for me in the comments. I'm not like I don't know. But I've been told it's a huge placebo, but anyway, I um I found a lot of happiness in collecting essential oils and
Okay.
using them like on basically everything. Like sometimes I even put like essential oils in my laundry when I like wash them. It's that weird.
Okay.
But yeah, so I started getting obsessed with essential oils, and then not long after that I started a wellness page on Instagram, which kind of flopped. Um, Actually, it really flopped. I started
Okay.
posting kind of like Instagram like blogs about like healthy living,
Uh-huh.
healthy physical health,
Yeah.
nutrition, dieting, essential oils, and then it flopped. And so I was like, well, I guess like I'm not going to become like a multimillionaire out of this. Like I had a little transition phase where I was like, maybe blogging's what I want to do. And
Yeah.
then obviously, like I said, it flopped. So then I was like, yeah,
Mhm.
I'll just stick to being a teacher.
Yeah.
But um and then soon after that, like I just started digging into the psychology behind mental health, and I started digging into the psychology and the chemistry of like different mental illnesses, which surprisingly a lot of it is trauma based,
Yeah.
which I didn't know beforehand. I thought a lot of it was genetics, but a lot of
Mm.
mental health issues stems from early childhood. So
Right.
which is another which studying things that stem back to early childhood, which is exactly what I work with, is early
Mhm.
childhood. So it all kind of um, circled back into the same thing. And so, yeah, it was super fun. And I started finding different ways to take care of myself and to love on myself, and kind of something that brings me happiness.
Mhm.
Which is skincare, essential oils, tea, blogging, plants, coziness, apple cider,
Okay.
donuts, even though we know
Yeah.
that like if we're going to the gym, we shouldn't eat a donut. But
It's
it's good to have
all
every
in
once in a
balance, yeah.
while. Yeah.
Balance and moderation, yeah. That's what life's about.
Right. Live life in moderation.
Yes. I love that. I think it's really cool that you kind of entered the mental health and self-care journey kind of just on your own and just like, "Hey, I wanna, learn more about myself and invest in myself, so, I wanna just learn and see what's out there and what, you're passionate about." Like, the things that you listed, I think is really cool. So, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think that you kinda mentioned, like, wanting to, you know, accept and love yourself and, like, help invest in yourself, and I think that that's really cool to hear because I think it's something that some of us don't get to that stage, or it takes us a long time to realize, like, the importance of that. So to hear how much of a priority that is to you, I think that's really cool. And to anyone listening, definitely if you aren't taking the time to, invest in yourself and take care of yourself, I think we both highly recommend and suggest, trying to find those
Yes.
things.
Yes. I mean, even looking at it from a spiritual standpoint, whatever you believe
Mhm.
in, could like meditating on what you believe in, whether it's, the Bible, or you believe in yoga,
Mhm.
whatever it is, taking that time to invest in that, because your spiritual health is also extremely important.
Definitely. And, Amber, so you've mentioned being, pretty busy as a teacher and everything. And I feel like most people these days, we're pretty busy or we say we're pretty busy. Have you ever found it where it's like you're not prioritizing your self-care because of how busy you are? Like, has that ever been something you've struggled with, or have you always been like, no, like I don't care, like I need to set, an hour aside today to do this form of self-care? Have you ever had to like balance with that?
I have struggled with this since it
Okay.
started.
Yeah.
I think the one thing, I think what most people don't understand is self care is not just like finding a ritual and sticking to it. Um, like for the rest of your life, because we're ever changing, we're evolving, we
Hmm.
are, we're learning so much every single day, whether we realize it or not. Again, we're basically tiny humans, just bigger.
Yeah.
um so we are changing every single day, little by little, and so our interests change, and what we were interested in, like what I was interested in at 17 years old, is not exactly what I'm interested in now.
Hmm.
um when I was 17, I was interested in, you know, sports, for example. I really liked, I did track in high school. And so now sports.
Yeah.
Um, but I think for me it's definitely challenging to implement that every single day. And I
Hmm.
think when it comes to realizing that your self-care regimen is, it's challenging to put into schedule that day. It's, how do I say this, when we come to the realization that our normal regimen for self-care is kind of out of the question because we're so busy, life is
Hmm.
moving so quickly, it's important to find self-care in the little things. And what I mean by
Yeah.
that is finding, seeing your shower as like seeing taking a shower as, oh, I'm taking care of my skin, I'm making sure my hair looks healthy. Eating breakfast, like instead of just being like, oh, I'm just eating because I'm hungry, seeing it as, I'm eating because I'm nourishing my body and I'm doing something good for myself. um Making sure that you're dressed properly, making sure you have good laundry. Good laundry? That doesn't make any sense. Your laundry's done.
Clean
Taking
laundry.
care of
Yeah.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Making sure that like you're getting your steps in if that's something that you enjoy to do is self-care.
Hmm.
Drinking water every day is self-care.
Yeah.
Finding self-care in the little things, and then the regimen when it comes to that. I mean, I when I worked in retail, I put on my availability because I used to work at TJ Maxx, but I put on my
Okay.
availability that I was not available Wednesdays. And that was strictly because Wednesdays were my self-care days. Wednesdays were the days that I took myself on a quote unquote self date. Um
Okay.
can I do that now as a preschool teacher? No, I have to be there 5 days a week. And so doing something on Saturday or Sunday or Friday night has become a new normal. It's become,
Hmm.
whether it's definitely not me going to a five-star restaurant and eating a whole burger and then feeling like crap the next day.
Yeah.
It's more so, oh my gosh, I've been a teacher all week. Maybe let's go get um my favorite Mexican soda and like expensive chocolate. Like
Yeah.
maybe that could be self-care on Fridays, because
Yeah.
as a teacher, again, you don't have much time to yourself.
Right. Yeah, no, I love that you kind of said like finding self-care in the little things. And I mean, I'll even go as far as say like kind of like the mundane things, right? Like, every day, most
Mm-hmm.
people like brush their teeth, take a shower, I don't know, do those kind of like tasks that like a lot of us like we probably just go through the motions, like, wake up, half asleep, brush your teeth and stuff, and then you're on with your day. But I think kind of like you said, like finding the self-care in those and just seeing kind of that perspective shift that you had of like, I'm not just eating because I'm hungry, like I'm eating to like give my body the energy and to nourish it for the day, or like
Yes.
I'm um you know, I'm not just showering so I don't get fired from my job for, you know, smelling or something. Like I'm
Right.
showering and it's like taking care of my, you know, my skin, and like, you know, I'm washing my hair and so taking care of that. So I think it's just finding kind of like the joy and the self-care in those little things. It can go a long way. And like again, I think that, you know, sometimes when we think of self-care, we think like, oh, I have to go get like a massage for an hour or something. But like
Right. Or
there's
like
you
going
can
on Gucci and spending $700 on a bag. Like,
exactly.
no
Yeah.
teacher has that money.
Yeah, no, there's so many things that you can do, and like I think a good thing that you kind of like brought up is like, you know, you mentioned Mexican soda and chocolate, like that might be your self-care, but like that might not be someone listening's or mine, and that's totally okay. Like we're all
Yeah.
supposed to have different forms of self-care, and that's not to say that like, you know, if something that I do and I talk about like, you know, someone listening or a friend can't say like, oh, like Zach really likes to read a book. Like, let me go try reading a book. Like, by all means, like explore those options, but don't feel like you have to do what so and so is doing or like what's popular on social media. You know, find your own thing and like whatever kind of makes you feel at peace. I think that's a perfect form of self care.
Yeah, and I think another thing is when it does come to shifting the mindset of taking the mundane everyday things
Mm-hmm.
and making it into self-care is add a little fun to it. I wake up and I listen to lo-fi music, and I start my morning every day listening to a Christian lo-fi playlist,
Okay.
and I listen to it in the morning before I leave for work, and then at night I listen to a really instrumental album from an anime I've never watched. I just listen to
Okay.
the music because I like it and it
Yeah.
helps me sleep. But like finding a little joy and like finding ways to put yourself at ease, especially with mental
Mm-hmm.
health issues. I myself struggle with PTSD. So, finding those simple things like listening to lo fi music really calms me down in the morning, and it sets my mindset and kind of shifts my mindset from the PTSD into, okay, everything's okay, I'm safe, we're gonna have a good
Mm-hmm.
day.
Yeah.
And then at night it's the same thing, shifting the mindset from, oh my gosh, I'm like overwhelmed and everything. If you don't want to think about your PTSD, turn on some, instrumental anime music. Um,
Right.
from an anime you've never watched. But it's adding a little spice to the chicken,
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
it
That was a
does.
stupid analogy.
No, no, it was good, and I like it. I mean, I think that's it is, like, kind of just going back to kind of our conversation about people being super busy and, like, we're all busy and, you know, it can get hectic and hard to do self-care. It's like, I think adding that, like, spice is just, like, kind of like you said, like, incorporating it into your busy schedule, right? So, like you said,
Yes.
you're just putting on music. Like, you're doing the same things you would do when you're, you know, generally busy and everything. You're just adding that music, which is giving you that extra
Yeah.
layer. And I think that that's perfect. I mean, like something that I could think of is like, you know, if you cook or something, if you're cooking dinner or like making lunch or something, like throw on some music, put on a podcast, watch or listen to like a YouTube video or something. Like,
Literally dance when your toast is in the toaster.
yeah,
Like,
there you
just
go.
do something that
Yeah.
adds that little spark of joy to your everyday life. I
Hmm.
mean, even just like another thing that I do in the morning that I didn't do when I worked in retail and I didn't do before, that really like degraded me mentally. It really made it hard for me to want to get out of bed, but I FaceTime a friend every morning. Like,
Mm.
I remember when I worked at TJ Maxx and I worked at the preschool that I worked at before I worked where I work now. Um, for privacy reasons, I can't give the name of the business, but
Yeah.
um, um, I would like wake up 50 minutes before I had to leave, and I would just like rush my morning, and it sucked
Mm.
because I was walking into work exhausted, I was drowsy, I was mentally exhausted because I didn't give myself that boost in the morning, that boost of serotonin and that boost of sense of self, like taking care of me that I
Yeah.
needed. And so taking care of me, like now I wake up 2.5 hours before my shift and I spend that time getting my music ready, making my coffee, getting my breakfast, packing my lunch. But while I'm doing those mundane things, I'm listening to music. I'm um, watching a video, like you said, listening to a podcast, or
Hmm.
I'm on the phone with a best friend and we're laughing and we're like, how's
Yeah.
your morning going? Or, even just sitting on FaceTime before work, having a cup of coffee with your best friend. That,
Yeah.
like, I have found so much peace and serenity in doing those things before I leave for work, and it has made the world of difference. Now, does it change my emotional aspect to tiny humans? Absolutely not. But it gives me that boost of serotonin to actually
Yeah.
be able to be like, okay, I can get to work. I can do this. And does it work every day? No, you're going to have days. This is another thing I want people to be able to understand is you are not going to wake up every day and want that boost of serotonin. You're just
Yeah.
not. Some days you're going to want to wake up and you're just going to be like, oh, I just want my coffee. I just want nobody to talk to me. I'm just going
Hmm.
to lay in bed for 30 more minutes. I highly encourage you to go walk outside. Vitamin D is so beneficial for your
Yeah.
mental health. And I think to some degree, and don't scientifically quote me on this, again, placebo effect, but I to some degree, most of us struggle, like most of us are vitamin D deficient. So
Yeah.
it having that boost of sunshine in the morning before you even start your day is vitally important sometimes.
Definitely. And I will definitely chime in and say that that is accurate. A lot of us are vitamin D deficient. And it's one of those things that until you are deficient, like you realize you're deficient in vitamin D, it's hard to kind of like you don't really realize it. You could just be feeling off or just like a little down or whatever, and you're like, oh, it is like just I didn't sleep well, whatever. But vitamin D plays such a big role in just like our mental state and just like mental clarity and everything. So definitely, as
Yes.
Amber was saying, I encourage, people as well to just get outside, even if it's just like, again, like the mundane tasks. Like
Yeah.
if you're a teacher and lesson plan inside, maybe try doing it outside. Or like if you're, you know,
Yeah.
part of your morning ritual is reading the newspaper or reading something like online news, newsletter or something, like go outside and do it, or just walk around outside. I definitely try to get outside personally, but also I within the last like year have been supplementing with a vitamin D vitamin, like just like a daily
Yeah.
vitamin, and like that's you know of course if you can get the actual vitamin D from being outside, that's probably the more ideal route. But if you aren't or you're not able to, or even if you do, a vitamin D supplement I've found helpful, and definitely something to look into.
And I do want to clarify that Zach and I are not using vitamin D as your antidepressant.
Yeah.
Keep taking your antidepressants.
For sure. Yeah, and I mean that's a really good kind of point to make. By no means are we saying that, vitamin D is going to be the cure to everything, but I do think, and even just from my personal experiences, so at least anecdotally I can say that I have found supplementing with the vitamin or just getting more vitamin D has helped me, like, especially
Yes.
I think back to like the last I guess year and a half, 2 years or whatever we've been going through, when things first started with COVID and everything. I think all of us to some extent were like, I'm not going outside anymore. Like, I just want
Yeah.
to stay in. And
I
yeah,
wore
I
my
mean,
mask on my porch.
yeah, I mean, like it was just, we all were staying in and being extra cautious and extra safe, which, was smart, for us to do and everything.
Yes.
But because of like, I noticed for me, because I was inside all the time, I wasn't get like, I like to walk. I would just like walk around in my house or something. Like, I wouldn't be going outside as much. And because of that, like, I was like, okay, let me get on some vitamin D. And I feel like as soon as I kind of started supplementing it, that's when I started to kind of feel just like, again, not like, oh my God, my life's changed and I'm, the happiest person alive, but like just a little like, kind of like pick me up. Like, okay, like I feel a little more clear and like I'm a little, just overall more more enthusiastic or happy. So again, yeah,
Yeah.
not the fix all for it, but definitely something that could help.
I definitely want to add to the vitamin D.
Yeah.
There how do I say this? Vitamin D is not just for your mood, just to say.
Yeah.
Um, it definitely circulates through your blood and it circulates through
Hmm.
your immune system. And so, vitamin D is kind of what I like to call a mixture of every vitamin ever, because vitamin D can help your mental health, it can help your immune system, it can help
Hmm.
your digestive system. It really just, again, don't scientifically quote me in the comments,
Yeah.
but um it definitely can benefit. And I think a lot of us, especially in the Northwest, or not Northwest, that's, I
Midwest.
was gonna say Northwest Ohio, but you live in Michigan.
Yeah,
um in the Midwest, we could definitely benefit from vitamin D supplements.
for
And
sure.
um I as a kid, people at lunch would say like the drink like Sunny D. I don't know if you've ever heard it, but
Yeah.
the drink Sunny D was their vitamin D. And honestly, I think it was just the added sugar.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I definitely highly encourage people to get outside, especially if you do have
Hmm.
depression. Get outside. I mean, take your antidepressants. By no means, again, are we saying that vitamin D
Yeah.
is an antidepressant or a cure all, but
Right.
um, definitely get out, get some sunshine, stretch, moving your, like, loosening up your muscles and moving your body is another good way to produce serotonin in your brain.
Definitely. And I mean, just to kind of add on to that, I think that for me, I've kind of gotten habits where it's like, I have to respond to, a couple emails or something. So I'll just sit at a desk and do it, or like, um, maybe even sometimes lay in bed and just like respond to emails on my phone. And like, while that's fine and great and everything, I think like for me, I've just started like, okay, let me like pace around when I'm like sending an email from my phone, or like kind of like you said, just get the body moving a little bit, even like
Yeah,
if you don't feel like you want to, or it's like super early in the morning and you're like, I'm not ready to like get moving. Like it's kind of funny how just like little movements, like it just kind of gets the body going, gets you kind of ready and for the day if it's in the morning. But I don't know, I've just noticed that was like a big thing that for me, it just kind of makes me feel better. Like if I'm just like moving around, or like I
yeah.
like to like walk around when I'm on the phone and stuff like that.
Right. I do the same thing. Or like after work when I get really tired and stuff and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I need to take a nap." I'm like, "No, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go walk around my block a
Hmm.
few times to get my blood pumping." Or like sometimes
Yeah.
even when I'm bored, I'll just get on my bike and ride in the dark. It's scary. I probably shouldn't do it, but I have lights on my bike, so it's fine.
There you go. Yeah.
But yeah, just definitely moving around. I get a lot of movement around being a preschool teacher, but
You're
that
right.
extra movement can go a long way as well.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, we've kind of talked a little bit about it with the vitamin D thing we just covered, but to anyone listening, you know, just putting it out there, Amber and myself, we aren't licensed trained professionals in mental health, or nutritionists, dietitians, doctors of any sort. So we're just kind of sharing what's worked for us and what we've found beneficial, or maybe we know people that have benefited from it as well. But by all means,
Yes.
please do consult with all those, healthcare professionals to kind of figure out what's best for you. But these are just kind of suggestions of things that we've found that are helpful, and there's a little science that backs them and stuff. But again, everyone's individual and everyone's different. So what works for us might not work for others. So just make sure
Right.
that you're taking care of your health, and that's super important. And I think that going off that, you know, I think people around our age we're better at, talking about our health, whether that be mental health, physical health, um, than maybe generations previously. But, don't be afraid to have those conversations. Um, Mental health is a serious, real thing. Trauma is real. Um,
Yes.
you're not alone by any means. I think a lot of us, we might think like no one would understand, or like you're the only one getting it or going through it, or like, if it's because you're around our age and it's like trying to figure out the career or the schooling or whatever. I promise you, there's so many people that have been there, and I've been there. I still am there most of the time in my life where I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. So you're not
Hmm.
alone, and just know that there are plenty of resources out there and people that are that's what they do. They're here to help us and to talk about these things.
Yeah, and I definitely also want to add that essential oils can also, like, essential oils can have the same effect as vitamins. They
Okay.
can have, like, lavender can help you with sleep. There are different, like, peppermint helps with physical pain, but by all means consult your healthcare professional before
Hmm.
using any sort of vitamin, any sort of essential oil. Make sure it's okay with your doctor, and if it's not, don't touch it, because you don't want to put your health in further damage.
Exactly. Yeah, and I mean, I think that's a great point. Consult with your doctors, your healthcare professionals, and just really use them as a resource to come up with the best plan for you.
Yeah.
The best thing that's going to be for you and your mental, physical, emotional, spiritual health. That's super important. And again, when it comes to like physical health and mental health, that might be more so like your primary care physician. But like also if you're spiritual or religious, like don't be afraid to talk to someone from those areas about how you can take care of yourself and make sure you're prioritizing your health, because I think like spirituality really ties into mental health too, and physical health and everything. It's all
Mhm.
really related. It's just health at the end of the day. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Wow, we sound like commercial holders.
Yeah, we do a little bit, but I
our
mean, it's all
whole
good stuff.
our new commercial.
There we go. But no, I mean, it's there's a lot of good things that we've talked about, and I think that just like again, I think even just us having this conversation about things like mental health and everything, like I think we're doing our part in society by like normalizing these kind of things and just saying like,
Yes.
we're having these conversations. They might not always be fun or easy, and it can be intimidating, especially maybe if it's like the first time. But you know, I think both of us, if anything, we want to be able to empower you if you're listening to have those conversations and to know that like it's okay to be going through things and you're not alone.
I definitely agree with everything you said. I don't
Yeah.
think I have anything more perfect to add. Good
Well, thank
job.
you. I appreciate that. Um, but yeah, Amber, it's been really great talking with you today. I think, like I said, we've had some really great topics and conversation.
Yes.
Um, if anything that we've talked about or that you've said has really resonated with people, or they're like, oh, wow, like, I want to, talk to Amber about essential oils, or, whatever the case may be. Do you have any like social media or anything that you'd want to put out that people could, that you reach out to you at?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram. It's just my name, Amber Hogarth, and honestly, I'm not going to describe my profile picture because honestly
Okay.
it's me and a cow. But it's cute. It's cute. I'll send you
Okay.
the picture later. But
Okay.
if you want to hit me up in the DMs, no relationship like like no boyfriend applications, but um if you do want to hit me up in the DMs, if you have any questions about being a teacher, essential oils, self-care, um self esteem, anything along those lines, send me a DM. I'm more than likely to respond within a day or so. Being a teacher is hectic, but
Yeah.
yeah, so you can hit me up on Instagram.
Okay.
You can
Perfect.
also you can also follow Zach because my picture will be on his page.
Yes. Yep. Definitely. So, Amber, I will put, I know you said it's just your name, so pretty simple
Yeah.
for Instagram, but I will put that in the description. So, if you're listening and you don't know how to spell Amber's name or something, or you just want to click in the description to find her Instagram,
Or
I will have that there.
actually,
Yeah.
I can just give you my handle, Zach, and you can just put the at and then my handle, and they can click on that and just follow me
Yeah.
there.
Perfect. So yeah, I will do that, and then so it'll be just right there in the description for anyone to follow Amber or to reach out to her and just talk about anything that we've covered today. And as Amber mentioned, on my on my page, I always do a little post, kind of just announcing the guests and just really just sharing kind of a piece of our conversation. So definitely be on the lookout
Yeah.
for my post as well. Amber will be tagged in my post, so even if you forget what Amber's handle is, or like you forget to look in the bio, if you're following my page, you will see her on it and you'll be able to get in touch with her that way. So
And
yeah.
then this will already be posted up, but when can they, this kind of doesn't matter, but when can they expect this podcast to be launched?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say really how the podcast is going. I launch one every, or I release one every Monday. So every Monday morning, usually at like midnight. Honestly, they're live. So as of right now, there are a few that are already scheduled out, but I would say this one should be coming out relatively soon. I would say probably definitely before the end of this year. I would say a couple months, maybe maximum. So
Yeah,
relatively soon. Yeah,
it'll be fun to look back on this and listen in a few months' time.
it will. And maybe we'll have to have you come back. You're always welcome to. So, any
I would
updates or
love to film
yeah,
again. This was so fun.
yeah.
I've been wanting to start my own podcast, but I don't exactly know like how to start one. And so maybe we can chat about that in our next
Yeah,
podcast.
definitely. We'll have to, off the recording and stuff, we'll have to just chat in general. And, maybe next podcast we could talk about your podcast or, promo yours or anything. But, Amber, it's been really great talking to you.
Maybe Zach will be on my podcast.
Yeah, I'd be honored to. So, tune in or stay tuned for updates on that. um, but Amber, do you have any like last thoughts or message or anything to anyone listening that you want to share with them?
If you are not a teacher, but you want to go into the educational field, it is rewarding and you're going to have tough days. You're going to have days where you want to quit. But by the end of the day, you're going to be glad that you made it through that day and you're going to be excited for the next day. So if you are wanting to be an educator, I say go for it. Chase that dream, get in the books, lesson plan, invest in those tiny humans. We're growing CEOs, people. Like
Yeah,
we are investing in the next CEOs, like the next people we'll see on TV. So go for it. Just whatever your passions are, go for it.
I love that. That's perfect. And yeah, education and the education field is great. So, I know I appreciate it. I'm sure we all appreciate everyone in the education field, like yourself, Amber. It's an
Oh, thank
awesome job
you.
that is, like you said, helping shape the minds of the future. So, really awesome field. If you're thinking about going into it, definitely we encourage you to do it. Again, reach out to Amber if you have any questions about it. But if teaching is not your thing, that's totally fine. But as Amber said, just chase those passions and do what you love. So yeah, Amber, it's been really great. Thank you again for taking the time to talk.
Yeah, no
And
problem. I had fun.
good, glad to hear it. All right, I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.